Hey, Captain, what you got there? Armchair promised to give me a bowl's worth of tobacco. Do you think Armchair will fall for that twice? Yeah, try it. Armchair is kind of dim, if you know what I mean. Hello, everybody. My name is Ed. I'm in my armchair, and the smoking lamp is lit. And guess what I'm smoking today? My newest Vauen pipe. And guess what? I have a story. Look at this guy. Okay, it's kind of an oval. Beautiful, just fits it. And then look at this rim. Beauteous Megamus Maximus. And the type of pipe this is, Vauen, they're Maximus pipe. So this is beauteous Megamus Maximus. I love it. Let me tell you the story. I've mentioned this guy before, so you do have to check him out, because if I mention him more than once, you know what I mean? Check him out. Pipe Chap Matt from Germany. We were exchanging comments. This was maybe a couple months ago. I had another Vauen pipe that I was expressing my beauteous of it. Yeah, whatever. And he wrote back that he is going to be going to the Vauen factory in Germany. So he went to the Vauen factory in Germany, and he got a little thing for it. And he got one for me. The Vauen. This is briar cut, and he got the logo on it. He got that for me. So I got that. The video he did after he had come back from the factory, he mentioned that he bought a new pipe just like this, and it is called the Maximus. So, you know how I pipe acquisition disorder, which is no problem. Because remember, see a pipe, buy a pipe. No problem. I saw his. It's Maximus. I had to get one. It came in a couple of days ago. So, pipe acquisition disorder. Maybe. I love it. Now all I got to do is get a, what are all beauteous, aren't they? All of these pipes are beauteous. Megama? Possible. We'll check around. And now my Maximus. Beauteous Megamus Maximus. So thanks to Matthias, because I would not have known about this. How cool is that? So I got one. And of course, Vauen, I have quite a few Vauen because I really love them. So it is May 1st, May Day. And Paladin Piper's Codger Challenge is over. I did not officially participate this year because you have to make your blend, which I did. I made my own blend of Prince Albert and Philosopher, and I actually liked it. And I chose my 4 pipes, but I normally smoke 3, maybe 4 bowls an evening. And I also had a fair amount of pipes that I'm trying to break in. So I didn't officially join, but I kept up with it actually until my first batch of my blend, was finished. I called that the Philosophy of a Prince. And of course, 2 years ago, it was 1 blend, Prince Albert for me, and just 2 pipes for the whole month. I did make it through that one. But I'm going to tell you a little story, a little reminiscing of my grandfather, a true codger. So, kind of a stories about my grandfather. Those people that participated in the challenge or just want to learn. And let me tell you what I don't know if you caught, but that challenge was to kind of remind you what guys did in the old days. Basically would have 1 tobacco, a few pipes. But let me tell you a story of my grandfather, who always smoked a pipe. Usually a straight billiard. Prince Albert was his blend. Yeah. But what made him, and it was what made a lot of people, my grandfather, when my dad was born, they lived in Trenton, New Jersey. 1 street. My dad lived there kind of in row houses, if you will, his whole life. And then, of course, World War II came up. He joined. At the end of it, he got married to my mother, who was also in the Army. They moved in with his parents. My grandfather bought a house, or built a house, just a block away. And that's where they lived till he passed away. So really within a couple blocks, this is where he spent his time. That area had a couple grocery stores. I'm sure those grocery stores, that's all he needed to smoke his pipe. He could buy his pipes there. He bought his tobacco there. Again, I know of him having Prince Albert as his favorite blend, but I'm sure that if he ran out, went to the store, and they didn't have Prince Albert, he just picked up something else. Always having the pipe, but his life could be, I mean, you could get out into the downtown of Trenton by bus. Mass transit, buses, trains, everything was incredible in those days. You know, they didn't have a car. I don't think my grandfather ever had a car. He could walk to work. I know that because as a kid, when I would visit my grandfather, we would always take on walks. And I know at least once we walked to the factory where he worked. And he went in, talked to some of his old friends. So I know it was in walking distance. I know there was a movie theater within a couple blocks of there, a church right on his block, another block away, the church where they went. There was a bunch of them. And I can remember going to grandfather's house and we would recognize how close we were, but we recognized the churches. Getting to grocery store, fire department. He took me to the fire department a couple times. And he knew all of the guys because he was always walking around and always quick smile and willing to talk to anybody. We also used to walk. I don't remember how far. It wasn't that far. But there was an area where the train tracks from the Trenton train station went. There's maybe 3, maybe 4 sets of tracks. We go to the same place. Some old buildings. We'd sit and kind of sit on concrete slabs that were there and just watch the trains go by. I loved it. So the codger part really comes down to he had what we needed. That's all. If his pipe broke or got to the point that he couldn't smoke it anymore, which I'm sure happened, because I don't think he was big on cleaning them, he'd get another one right at the grocery store. When he ran out of tobacco, he'd go get tobacco at the grocery store. In those days, definitely with my dad and the people of that generation, there was no such, oh, if I buy this pouch of tobacco or, jar of it or whatever, I can let it age for a year and it'll be better. No, they bought tobacco as they needed it. There was no cellaring of tobacco. What a concept it would be if he knew what's going on now with people cellaring stuff for 5 years, 10 years, let it rest for at least a year, that kind of stuff. Just incredible. But that was the codger. It was of necessity. I mean, my grandfather were not very rich. He was a mechanic, a machinist actually, and that's what he did. That's what they, had happened to him. So you did a year or a month of Codger Challenge, but realize for the Codgers, that's just what they did. It really was. It wasn't a thought out, it was just when you needed tobacco, you just simply bought it. It was right there. You also, if it wasn't one store, you happened to be going to another one that was probably a block away. I remember going to one that was just a half a block away. My grandparents' house was in the middle of the block. Across the street, go down a half a block, there's a grocery store. Definitely might go into town. Definitely didn't have any malls. No such thing there. Downtown was where you got everything. And that was the life. So me walking around with my grandfather, I can remember still cobblestone streets. At that time, there wasn't many, but there was a few streets that were still just had the cobblestone. Really cool. Neighborhood. My grandparents lived in the same neighborhood. They had friends. Spent their whole life there. A story. Across the street. Now these were row houses. So you see go to the front, but you never actually saw was it in the backyard because it was completely blocked off. There was no gaps between the buildings. And they were telling me across the street from my grandparents, there was a gentleman. Now, all of these houses in the back, you had an entrance to their basement was outside. You go down some steps to the basement. And this gentleman was semi higher up in the mafia. And unbeknownst to my grandparents, and my parents were there living, right there. On certain nights, all of these big cars were coming in, dropping off the men, and they had big high-stake poker games in his basement. My grandparents never knew that. They knew the wife from the front, but didn't realize all that was going on at the back. That was your neighborhood. I'm going to say it. Oh, and something else to show you. I'll put this down. This, you've seen this before. The pipes in it are actually, these are the first 5 pipes I ever owned. And you really can't see this. But this was a gift given to my grandfather when he retired. To Frank from the boys is what's engraved in there. And I am so proud that when I got out of the Navy, I went home for about a month and packed up my stuff to go to college. And so I got a bunch of things of my grandfather, my stuff, and my dad gave me that at that time. So I've had it in my possession for over 50 years now. Pretty neat. I love having those kind of connections to an old codger. Well, thank you for joining me. Little thought basically on what it was like actually being an old codger. So, I hope you like this. And if you don't, remember, you're not going to get to heaven. Now I also got to get a little bit of tobacco. I promised Dr. Vauen, the captain, give him a bowl's worth of tobacco. So, bye for now. And remember, may your smoking lamp always be lit. Take care out there.